Anyway, that's kind of what I've been working on. Not to give it away or anything, it's probably not going to sound like that when it gets released. But I wanted to prove to you that I'm not just, this is all for looks. Uh, Tools of the trade and whatnot. But, this is where I'm most comfortable here. I I mean, here's the thing. I toured a lot over the years when I first started doing this. Um, and, my first band was Anchorage. It was kind of difficult to tour there, but, we would drive up to Fairbanks in the dead of winter to play gigs. Not very many people can say they did that. Those roads are really dangerous, and, it's kind of a bragging point for me is that not only did I survive that, but I was able to pay my rent playing music up there. Um, yeah, give it a shot. See if you can do that. But I did that in my 20s, and when I when I ended up in Portland, because that's where everyone moved to. I grew up in Central California. I was thinking about moving to Oakland. That was the place that was on my mind. But I think even people from Oakland and San Francisco were all moving up to Portland. And for me, the main attraction wasn't that what was it, Anatomy of a Ghost moved there to Portland. That was the big attraction to all my peers. That's how long ago it was. They were on, I think, Restless Records or some shit. They were right next door to Anchorage, and so everyone was like, holy shit, it's happening. But we have to go down to the lower 48 in order to make it. And I experienced that as someone that didn't grow up there. I was like, oh, that's a real thing, man. Like, we're really limited to what we can do up here. We have to leave. I can't stay here forever. I have to grow. And I think this band called 36 Crazy Fists were one of the first to do that. One of the Mike from the Fuck Emos moved to Austin. Like, he was one of the OGs of Anchorage. Anyway, Ryan Soley from the Builders and the Butchers. I think I'm saying it correctly. I played in his band before they moved to Portland, and I was one of the many bass players that they had in the Born Losers, but I really believed in that band, and I thought it was a lot of fun. It was like garage punk, like the Makers, which I'm a fan of that stuff. I like garage punk. I like the 60s stuff leading up to the Stooges, from the Brogues to the Stooges. I'm a fan of it. So yeah, anyway, man, Portland, it was kind of wild, man, because I forgot that I was a lower 48er. I grew up in Central California, like I said, and so, like, I had to readjust to living in Portland, and unbeknownst to me, I had a lot of relatives and people of my ilk that were from there, so I was constantly surrounded by family, and just had no idea. Turns out Reuscher has a very large extended family. So most of my touring experience, spitting it out 4 minutes into this shit, was in my late 20s, early 30s. Megaton Leviathan, I think I was like 33 when I first started doing this stuff and going on tours and figuring all that stuff out. It definitely was different, but it was something that I dreamed of all my life, and finally I was doing it. And I think all the stuff that happened in Anchorage set me up for this, and I was ready for it. All the drinking and drugging in between, I made it. A little late, but I made it. And I gleaned a lot from that. I just everything that I learned in Anchorage, like we ran underground all ages venues and stuff like that, like the not being corrupted by the idea of what success might look like, if you were going to be in the lower 48 and signed to a label. And I think that back to 36 Crazy Fists, they made it clear. You know, I listened to I listened to them, not their music too much. No offense, guys. I'm sure you don't like my music either, and that's fine. But like, I respect you. You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. Because they did tell us. They made an effort to let us know, like, if you're gonna do this, beware. You know, and I listened. And so I got caught up in all the mania of it. Like, I remember, you know, I say this a million times, like I deleted my TikTok, but most of those videos are on there. But I talk about this where, you know, I continue to do house shows. I lived out in Gateway in Portland, and so we do house shows all the time. And as I got older, we started doing less and less of them. But, you know, it was really cool. Thou played my basement. Embers, I remember them. Like, a lot of Christian Mistress more than once. I mean, we had so much fun shit going on in there over the years. Just everything. We just, you know... and it kind of got to the point over the years to where houses were less and less. And, like... and it felt like a special event when we had those shows. And, you know, I had Relapse Records guys in my basement checking out bands. You know, I don't know if they're checking me out or not. You know, I was on Seventh Rule, and they shared an office in Portland with Relapse. And, like, so I'd be in there every once in a while. I worked at White Owl, which was a bar that they owned that used to be a venue, but they were kind of being gatekeepy about who was going to play on that stage they had in there, and that was a drag. They could have really have done something really cool for the community, but they just made it about them and their empire, you know. Sizzle Pie Pizza. For a while, I was like, wow, look at, it's like Rome or something, you know. Just keep rolling it out, you know. So, yeah, you know, that was kind of a drag. I didn't last long as a bouncer with White Owl, but I learned a lot from it. And I learned it's really solidified in my mind what I wanted to do and where I wanted to go with this. And I just chose to, you know, man, like, sometimes it's good to retreat into the woods and lick your wounds and figure it out, you know. And I just focused on the music. And I would do some shows, but I hadn't done a tour with Megaton Leviathan since 2012. And that was, you know, by choice. I love and I hate touring, but I think I'd prefer to be in the studio. 8 minutes in, that's really what I wanted to say. God bless you if you stayed this long. I know I'm fucking horrible. Yeah, anyway... Yeah, I fucking stayed in the course, man. Like, I didn't quit my day job. I'm doing what I gotta do, you know. I'm active out in the world, trying to do good things, and I think it informs my music. You know, I use my music as an outlet, and I think most people are conscious of that. It's happening whether you want to be aware of it or not. So you might as well lean into it once you're aware of it. And that's kind of where I went with it. You know, things kind of went from there. You know, it turns out it's cinematic, you know. And I think that lies in the fact that I'm not just playing slow to play slow. It's not doom for the sake of doom. I really don't want to be associated with doom metal, really, you know. I don't know how I feel about that. You know, it's kind of sus. I like Sun. You know, and in fact, if it wasn't for Sun, I wouldn't have had some of the ideas come to fruition in my mind. You know, like they fucking did it. And, you know, Sun, Boris, I don't list them as direct influences. I might have listed Sun, but those are two bands that... I thought really broke the mold for me and made me feel like I could continue to play music. Melvin's is a huge influence, you know, but they did more than just Boris, you know. I like that song. I like the band. But the Melvins, man, those albums after Houdini in the 90s, fucking Stag, Honky, like, there's a handful of them, man, and they're all fucking, like, stepping out of the box, you know, like, it's experimental and cool and wild and still heavy. So those are like that's the stuff that fucking makes Megaton Leviathan tick. All right, I'll talk more about it in detail. I think I'm gonna start getting on script here. I don't want to do it, but I think it might be best. All right, cool. I'm just gonna throw this up in the raw. All right, peace. Take care of each other. Look out for each other. Take no bullshit. You learn as you grow. Okay.